Outcasted OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC Podcast, and welcome to this week's Raw review. Now I've just finished watching Raw, I have my notes here, so let's go through the episode together. So this week's Monday Night Raw started out with Seth Rollins coming out to cut a promo for Hartford, Connecticut's crowd. He was wearing a really cool gold suit. I freaking loved it. I wrote down awesome gold suit because the suit that he was wearing, he looked phenomenal, and especially with the belt up against his suit, oh, it looked so good. So he comes out to the ring and the entire building is like blacked out with like a spotlight on him, and the crowd just starts singing his song. He pretty much cuts a promo and says, "Welcome to Monday Night Rollins. This first week of me being the World Heavyweight Champion has been nothing short of a party." And he said he realised that it's been 2 years since a World Heavyweight Championship match happened on Monday Night Raw. He issued an open challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship on Twitter, which was answered by Damian Priest. And he said he was kind of excited for the match. He said when he just found out he was going to, when he became champion, he said he wants all the fights and he wants to fight the best people, and he said Judgment Day are as good as it gets, but they're just not me. So he's giving a lot of praise to Judgment Day, talking about how they're really good on Monday Night Raw, and as a faction they're really good. Judgment Day comes out and interrupts, and I made a note that it was only Damian Priest and Finn Balor coming out, and so Seth Rollins made a joke about it. He's like, well, I mean, normally there's 4 of you, why is there only 2 of you? And one comment that he made, which was quite funny, was where's Rhea and Dom? Are they making out in a corner somewhere? Which I thought was quite funny. Damian Priest says that Rhea and Dominic have their own business to deal with tonight, so you only need to worry about me. Finn Balor said that you're a very funny man who tells funny jokes, you got a funny song, all of that stuff. He says everyone loves Seth Rollins and your song, but they're not going to like it when Damian Priest beats you tonight. Crowd starts singing Seth's song. I mean, if you mention Seth's song in front of a crowd, they're going to start singing regardless. Damian Priest says, you know, Seth, you are a very deserving champion. And Finn Balor next to Damian Priest is very, looking confused as to what's going on. Damian Priest says, and so am I, and tonight I'm taking the opportunity to beat you. I don't need Judgment Day to beat you, though. I don't need them. I can do it myself. And Finn's looking really confused and puzzled as to why Damian Priest is out here saying he doesn't need the Judgment Day's help in a match. Seth Rollins says, well, if that's how you truly feel, then leave the rest of your crew in the back and just fight me on your own. Finn Balor says that you don't decide how it goes down, and he's obviously responding to Seth's comment. Damian Priest is like, I'm cool with it. I want to be the World Heavyweight Champion. I will be the World Heavyweight Champion, and I want to do this on my own. And Finn Balor's looking really confused as to but I'm the leader. I make decisions. Why are you kind of going against what I ask of you? And Seth Rollins makes a joke and says that, that my title reign is actually longer than Finn Balor's, because as you all know, Finn Balor won the inaugural Universal Championship match against Seth Rollins, and he had to relinquish the title 24 hours later due to injury. So Seth made a wee little comment about that. Then we go into our first match of the evening, which is Becky Lynch versus Sonya Deville, and this is a Money in the Bank qualifying match. I really enjoyed the match. I think it was a really good opportunity for Sonya Deville to get a lot of showing in, to show her in-ring style. I do think she is a severely underused talent, and I do think that she actually, when you give her an opportunity to wrestle in the ring, she's actually really good. So Chelsea Green was in this match as well too, just interfering on the outside. She obviously accompanied Sonya Deville. So there was some ringside interference from her. It was a great match all in all. As I said, Sonya Deville got a great amount of offense and on Becky, which was really good to see. But Becky did end up dominating the match. So Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark came out and made themselves known. They were just standing at the top of the entranceway. They didn't interfere in the match, but they were obviously making their presence very known. Chelsea Green ended up hitting Becky Lynch with a big boot outside of the ring, whilst Sonya had the ref distracted, and then after that point Becky was like, nah. So Becky started throwing Chelsea around the crowd barriers, which was really cool to see. She kind of had a light switch flick and she just went crazy, which was really cool to see. The match ended up being won by a manhandle slam by Becky Lynch to Sonya Deville, obviously giving Becky Lynch the win. This is really exciting to see. Becky Lynch has made a comment on Twitter in the Raw digital exclusive that the Money in the Bank briefcase is the one thing that she has not won throughout her entire career. And she missed out on Clash at the Castle last year due to injury. So her having to come to Money in the Bank in London is going to be really exciting for her, because this is the first time she'll have a premium live event in front of a UK crowd. So this is really exciting to see that Becky's qualified for Money in the Bank. I'm really excited for her. Next up, we had a video recap quickly for the 1,000-day celebration of Roman Reigns from last week on SmackDown. Then we see Byron Saxton is backstage. He ends up quickly talking to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and he says, how do you feel after what happened last week with the bloodline kind of crumbling? Sami Zayn said that it's nice to see the Usos doing what they should have done months ago. Well, Jimmy, not Jay, because Jay hasn't done anything. That's kind of a wait and see, but that's no longer my problem. And then Imperium comes in and breaks up the conversation, and Ludwig Kaiser basically says, you are right about the bloodline. It's no longer your problem. But as long as you're wearing those tag team title belts, Imperium will be your problem. And then Kevin Owens kind of comes in. Kevin Owens has kind of turned a bit crazy in the last couple of weeks. He ends up saying, have you not learnt from last week? Don't you have like turtleneck shopping to go to? I'm wearing a turtleneck right now, so I'm embracing the turtleneck. He basically was just like, do you not know, you don't interrupt conversations, you kind of speak when you're spoken to. If you get called upon, that's when you can come in and speak. You don't just get to decide when you talk on your own. Gunther comes in and he says, Mr. Owens, you really need to regain control of yourself. You need discipline, and I'm happy to teach you discipline tonight. And then Kevin Owens goes crazy and he's like, well, I can teach you discipline. There's a ring out there. Let's go get this started. So they charge themselves to the ring and we end up getting Gunther versus Kevin Owens. Now I loved this match. This was awesome. This was a real fight, like a real battle. And it was really cool to see the mix of different styles within the ring, especially with Kevin Owens and Gunther. It was just incredible to see. There was a really good high flying spot that KO did to Gunther, where he did a swanton bomb off the ropes, which was quite cool, and almost got the 3 count on Gunther, which was really exciting to see. This match did not disappoint. Gunther ended up coming out with the win, which was the right decision, but this match was just awesome. It was incredible. I loved it. Then we end up seeing Kathy Kelly's backstage quickly catching up with Riddle. Riddle says, he's tired of seeing Gunther cheating and, his henchmen helping him cheat. Ludwig Kaiser comes in and says, you're a disgrace. How dare you talk about the ring general like that? How dare you? And Riddle's like, what are you going to do about it? And Ludwig Kaiser's like, what are you going to do about it? And then pushes him. And then Riddle ends up grabbing Ludwig Kaiser, throwing him over all of the backstage equipment that they've got and putting Giovanni Vinci into an ankle lock. So it's quite cool to see the progression of Riddle getting really angry with Gunther's henchmen, obviously Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. So I do think it's only a matter of time before we see Riddle versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Then we end up seeing Byron Saxton backstage talking to Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, obviously the newly crowned women's tag team champions. He's asking, how does it feel for you guys to be the tag team champions? And Shayna Baszler says, this feels like destiny. We've been manifesting this for a long time, even before we hung up our the MMA careers that we had. And now that we're finally tag champs, we're no longer going to be considered an afterthought. And Ronda Rousey makes some weird comments. I didn't write them down because I kind of didn't feel it was necessary to kind of recite the garbage that Ronda Rousey's sometimes spouting out. But she basically just says, she's inviting anybody to take us on. In comes Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. This is obviously the first time we've actually seen them on Raw TV other than seeing video packages about them. Katana Chance basically says, if you are looking for a team, look no further. We'll happily take you on and make a statement in our Raw debut. And then Ronda Rousey says something really weird, obviously commenting on Katana's size. She's like, did we land in Munchkin Land? Because I'm pretty sure we're already in Connecticut, which, I get what you tried to do, but your joke wasn't that funny. And obviously it's probably not the first time Katana Chance has heard something like that, where her size has been used against her. But then that match ends up happening straight after this, this interaction. So we end up getting Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Kaden Chance and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. I end up just in my notes writing them as like KC times 2 because it's the same initials. Anyway, this was their Raw debut match, and I think for a debut match, this was awesome. I've seen them obviously from NXT. They have insane ring chemistry, and it was referenced on commentary that they've actually been a tag team for about 4 years. They're one of the longest reigning women's tag teams that we've had, which is pretty obvious because WWE just ends up putting a bunch of women together and being like, you're a tag team now, whereas these guys have been together for a very long time, and it shows with their chemistry inside of the ring. They are phenomenal, continually getting tags upon each other when people aren't watching, obviously quickly swapping in and out, which is really good to see, and keeping the other team on their toes in terms of who's actually legal in the match. There was an awesome move that was done by Kaden and Katana where one of them ends up carrying the other one, like just holding their arm. They run up on the ring, the ring ropes, and then jumping off, which was really cool to see. And she ended up doing the jump onto Shayna Baszler. The after party finisher, that move that they do, was absolutely, like, it was on point, it was fire, it was great, and the selling of that was insane as well. Shayna Baszler ended up catching Katana Chance in the Kirifuda clutch, which ended up securing the win for them. But I do think all in all, for a first match on Monday Night Raw by these two, it was incredible, and I'm excited to see where they go from here. Then we end up seeing Ricochet quickly backstage before his match, and Bronson Reed comes out and is basically trying to call out Ricochet for his match last week, but Ricochet is quick to say, you lost your match last week. Then Bronson Reed ends up saying, he wasn't on his A game. Shinsuke comes in, they end up having like a quick riff-raff. I kind of didn't really take much notice of what was said because I kind of knew this would just be to set up the match between Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura, which this was a great match. These two have really good in-ring chemistry, and the matchup of their styles in terms of Ricochet high flying and Shinsuke's strong style was really good together. I really enjoyed this match, and obviously I had a feeling that something was going to happen considering that Bronson Reed interfered backstage before the actual match happened. So this match ended up being concluded as a no contest because Bronson Reed came out and did some interference. He ended up just attacking Ricochet and Shinsuke. So I think this will be exciting to see what happens from this point onwards. I think I said last week I really would have actually liked to see Bronson Reed in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but that's okay. If they've got some really good plans for Bronson Reed, then I'd be excited to see what happens from there. But before that match actually started, so we had the backstage segment, then we had a video package, then we had the match. But the video package in reference is about Johnny Gargano. He's talking about how, he's a smaller guy and he was always considered not good enough when he came to WWE, but he had to prove himself. He's been wrestling all over the world. He wrestled for 10 years overseas before he came to WWE. And one thing I noticed is that the OG Rebel Heart music, I'm pretty sure, was used in this video package, which was really cool to see. I'm kind of hoping maybe... I feel like it was the OG music. It kind of sounds similar, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it was. But anyway, I'm kind of hoping that they have some form of actually bringing the OG Rebel Heart music back, because the music that he's been using as of late, I get it's the same song, but having it sung by someone different doesn't feel the same as it did in NXT. And one line out of the segment that I figured out was really important because a lot of emphasis was put on it, as he said, I have fun doing it my own special way. So obviously he put emphasis on the word way, which means potentially we're going to see more of the way in the future. Then we ended up having a quick backstage segment with Alpha Academy. So you have Chad Gable, Otis, and you have Maxine there, or should I say Otis, as Maxine says. And, Chad Gable's basically saying that Otis is the reason that all of us together, and that Alpha Academy doesn't run from a fight, obviously referencing what happened last week on Raw when it came to the Viking Raiders and Valhalla coming in. And, Chad Gable basically says, I've given Otis the opportunity to read up on the Viking Raiders and to figure out best way to beat them, so how do we beat them? And Otis basically says, we take them out with deodorant and then we beat them up. And Chad Gable said, well, now that Maxine is a part of Alpha Academy, we have to teach the pretty lady how to take on the Viking lady. So we're going to give you a masterclass on how to beat Valhalla. So I have a feeling maybe next week on Raw we'll get a match between Valhalla and Maxine Dupri, which I think would be quite cool. I do know that Maxine Dupri does have a bit of in-ring experience, so if we're going to start seeing her in the ring more, that would be quite cool. It'll give her a little bit extra to her character other than in her just being the manager for Maximum Male Models and for Alpha Academy. Then we end up quickly seeing that Cody Rhodes is backstage walking out, obviously heading to the ring, and we get the Miz TV segment with Cody Rhodes. So Miz comes out and he's just quickly talking before Cody Rhodes comes out. He says to Cody, like, you know, he's asking about the open challenge that he issued to Brock Lesnar last week, basically saying, well, it's a bit stupid considering that you gave a list of all the dates that you were going to be free, issued out the open challenge, and just expected Brock Lesnar to come out anytime, especially when you still are suffering from that broken arm of yours. And Cody Rhodes basically calls Miz Mike, and then the Miz needs to be like, when I'm in this ring, you call me the and Miz, obviously, first and last name. And he said he didn't think it was stupid until now, and a lot of people told him that it was brave and that he had balls to do it. You'd know a little bit about having, you'd know a tiny bit about that, obviously referencing the small balls joke. The crowd starts chanting tiny balls. He says he understands that Brock Lesnar is in hibernation. He gets that. It's his annual time away from WWE. The Miz goes ahead and he says, you know, we love surprises here, and I've got a better one for you than Brock Lesnar, and asks for Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley to come out. So they come out to the ring, and Rhea Ripley then says, you know, Dom's got something he wants to say to you, and the crowd is booing horrifically. Like, Dominic can't get a word in at all. And the Miz is like, let him speak. And then Cody goes ahead and he says, don't boo Dom, but in like a very sarcastic way. And then Rhea says, you guys need to be showing respect for my Latino heat. Dominic says, you know, Cody, he said he was happy when Dominic was happy when Miz invited him onto Miz TV. He said, you're a bird with a broken wing and you're a bad father. You should be taking care of your daughter instead of being here. And you're just like my dad. You're just a deadbeat dad. And Cody says, I have empathy for you. That 15 minutes of you being in prison must have been really hard times indeed. And he says, you know, that WrestleMania match that you had with your dad, it wasn't just a match, it was a public spanking session. You know, the whole entire world got to see you get your, you know, ass beat, basically. And then he ends up calling Dominic Mysterio a terrible mistake. And as Dominic and Rhea are leaving, Dominic turns around and slaps Cody Rhodes in the face. So maybe we could be seeing a feud with these two coming up in the future. Then Trish Stratus came out to the ring. Obviously, this was before the match between Zoe Stark and Natalya, which was another qualifying match for Money in the Bank. So Trish Stratus was watching the entire match outside the ring as it was happening. It was quite a good match, actually. I like to see that Zoe Stark looked very dominant in this match. Got a lot of offense in over Natalya. Natalya had a few spots too, but it was mostly Zoe Stark that was in charge of this match. There was a part in the match where all three of them were outside of the ring, and Natalya was basically telling Trish just to like stay out of the match. Trish ends up kicking Natalya in the back of the knee, putting her back into the ring. Zoe hits the Z360 on her and comes out the winner. So Zoe Stark is heading to Money in the Bank, which will be quite cool. So I think now that Becky's in the match, I feel like Zoe Stark may get Trish to have some interference. Who knows? We end up seeing Paul Heyman backstage really quickly, and he's like obviously doing his general, hi everybody, my name's Paul Heyman. He's saying he's inviting you to Friday Night SmackDown, where Jey Uso has to make a historic choice, and he says that he's always somebody who has to deliver unpleasant news, especially if it is to Roman Reigns, who is the tribal chief. He said this news may tear up the Anoa'i/Fatu family, and then he says that Jey Uso will have to make a choice. He'll have to choose, Jey Uso will have to choose and stand by his brother Solo, so not Jimmy. So he's really hoping that Jey will end up siding with the bloodline, which is obviously Roman and Solo. He said that you can share a womb with your twin, but you'll never be closer to him than you are to Roman Reigns, and that Jey Uso will acknowledge Roman Reigns on Friday night. So that's interesting to see what's going to happen on Friday with the bloodline. Then we end up quickly seeing that Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are having a match with Indus Sher. I didn't really think much of this, to be honest. I kind of think that Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander deserve a lot more than being squashed. Indus Sher came out with the win. I get that it's to make them look really powerful, but I mean, you don't have to do that to veteran talent like, you know, Cedric and Shelton, who are still referenced to the Hurt Business, but you don't have to do that to them. Then we had the main event, which was Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, it was mentioned on commentary that this is the first time A World Heavyweight Championship match has happened on Raw since November of 2021, which is a very long time. So I'm super excited to see this is finally happening. This was a great match. Damien and Seth have a lot of really good in-ring chemistry together. There was one spot that I really liked where Seth was on the top of the crowd barriers. He was on top of it because he got thrown over the timekeeper's area by Damien. He jumps up on the top and tries to jump up in the air, but then Damien ends up hitting Seth with like a mid-air uppercut, which was quite cool. Damien looked really dominant in this match, and I think that's kind of what you have to do if you want to make Damien look like a real main eventer here. It was awesome to see both of them get a lot of good offense in. Seth ended up throwing Damian Priest into like the side of the crowd barriers, and obviously that kind of was the same spot that Seth used on Finn in the SummerSlam match, and that was referenced on commentary by Corey Graves. Then cuts to Finn Balor actually coming out, and then Seth ends up hitting him because he's like, you don't need to come out here. Then Damian Priest ends up asking Finn, like, why are you here? Obviously, it was referenced earlier in the evening that, Damien didn't think it was necessary for the entire Judgment Day to be out here and he can do this match on his own. So it's kind of interesting to see Finn kind of taking charge instead of listening to what Damien has to say and actually thinking he knows more than what he does in terms of helping Damien out. He kind of got told, I don't need your help, but then ends up taking it upon himself anyway to actually help out in the match. Then that match kind of ended up finishing up with Seth Rollins taking the win, which was awesome. I'm really excited to see where Seth's reign continues after this point. But at the end of the match, Finn Balor comes into the ring and ends up having a stare-off between Seth as well too. So the stare-off between Seth and Finn obviously was what concluded Monday Night Raw. I do think we are going to be getting this feud again at some point in time between the two of them, especially for the World Heavyweight Championship. If there's a way that Seth goes through the entire Judgment Day, excluding Rhea Ripley, then I do think that out of the three men, Finn will be the last person to go up against Seth. So this will be cool to see if this happens at Money in the Bank or if it happens at SummerSlam. I'm leaning more towards Money in the Bank, considering it's going to be in the UK. Finn's from Ireland. This would be awesome to see, but who knows? That's just up for speculation now, but I guess we just have to wait and see how we get on. So yeah, that is my recap of Monday Night Raw. I'm trying every week to make these shorter because it's really hard for me to dissect a 3-hour episode into less than 20 minutes. So I'm doing my best to make them as short as I can so they're easier to digest. But if you don't mind the longer content, let us know because we're happy to do longer videos. But yeah, so that is the recap for Monday Night Raw this week. Now, there will be a podcast episode happening this week. If you want to find out more about it, stay tuned to the Instagram where we'll be talking about what we're doing in terms of what we're going to be talking about on the podcast. But for now, if you want to, make sure that you tune into our personal social medias, our personal TikToks. Make sure you keep up to date with us there. And we'll be posting a update for the podcast in the next couple of days. So yeah, if you guys liked the video, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the video to all of your friends so that you can show them more about the Outcasted OC and our love for wrestling. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.